Hi everybody. Today we are talking about the design process of medical electronic devices. Today I am focusing mainly on the engineering part where we are designing and developing the electronic design, hardware design, firmware design, software, app, data communication and data security. And within this video we are not talking about the consumer analysis and clinical trials and usability analysis, which is a really critical part of the medical electronic development process, but we are talking about exclusive engineering part. So when you are designing a medical electronic device, that's a little bit different from a regular electronic device. One case is it should be really reliable, so it's like an industrial or automobile grade device development. But the other part is we have to make sure that all the devices are really consistent in the development process, requirements are properly met, safety concerns are met, and all these are documented and traced together. So this is the concept of developing medical electronic product, so that the MDR and FDA, which are the governing bodies of medical electronic products, they can trace your product from beginning to the end through the documentation and see that you followed the correct documentation process and design and development process, so that the product is reliable enough that a patient and a doctor can rely on this device's data for the treatments. So that's the whole idea of medical electronic device design. So we'll talk about the process of developing such a device. As you can see, when we get a business requirement from a customer, that's where the electronic product development starts. Before the customer requirement comes in, there's a load of work that the customer should have been done in design, in requirement gathering, clinical analysis and data analysis, research paper studying and everything to make sure that this product is viable. But we are starting from the customer requirement or customer inquiry, where it comes as for an example, look, design me a device for glucose analysis and sending that data to an app. That might be your requirement coming in. And after you get that requirement, normally we put it into client specification and internal review the specification and go to a proper meeting with the customer to generate the business requirement document. In that meeting, we can ask about the questions, look, what's the device, how long does it has to last, how do you charge that thing, how do you connect to the mobile device, what are the information that you have to get and show in the mobile device. All these things are the business requirements. There's nothing related to electronic design or anything, nothing related to firmware code. It's the requirement from the customer. And then we can come back, analyze the design thoroughly, and then go back to him with the second design review. That means first we do the system analysis, find out where we can improve the business analysis and everything. Go to the second design review. That can be with the customer or can be internal. In the second design review, we can go for a second iteration of business requirement document, share with the customer, go back and forth. It might be a process of maybe 2 months or 3 months, where we properly and thoroughly analyze the requirement. We say, look, you can meet this requirement, but this you cannot meet with the current uh, state of the electronic in the world. So we can change that. And then we can go for again another system analysis, agree with the client, okay, these are the final requirements we are going through, and get the final design review 3, where we agree and sign off on a fixed business requirement, which will be held fixed until the end of the product development. If the customer or the design company has to change that business requirement, we have to again go through all this process, see what changes and design accordingly. So ideally the business requirement should be signed off and kept fixed after this point. So after this point, we have a fixed business requirement document, and we can design the final proposal and give the quotation, timeline, and everything, including the proposal for the customer. And if the customer approves that proposal, we can go for project kickoff, saying, okay, look, everything is done, everything is approved. Now we are going forward for the development process. So in the development process, again, there's another set of documents analysis we have to do. First thing is, after we get the business requirement, which is kind of in text format and user perspective, we have to break it down to hardware, firmware, app, data security, cloud requirements. And for an example, for the hardware, it might be the actual requirement should be probably battery should last for 2 days. The hardware requirement should be the battery should have this much of current and this much of power saving, likewise. And then the firmware requirement should be battery should go for a battery saving mode after 2 hours of idle time, likewise. So firmware has a part of that requirement, hardware has a part of that requirement. Likewise, we have to break that into different hardware, firmware, app requirements, and then we have to do a risk analysis. Risk analysis means what kind of risk this device or operating this device can happen to the patient and the doctor and the patient's prescriptions. So if our device is giving erroneous values, that may lead to giving a wrong medication. And if the patient is relying on the device, then like a ventilator, if a sudden breakdown of a device can even cause the patient to lose his life. And if your device is having an internal battery, it can overheat and burn a customer. So likewise, there are a lot of risks that we have to analyze in terms of severity and probability of occurrence. And if the severity and probability of occurrence are too high, then we have to redesign. So that's why we say we have to do a new system design based on the new system risk analysis, and then go for a new risk analysis after the controls. So there's a risk analysis before the controls. If one or two risk items might be too high, then you have to go for system analysis, including those risk analysis, risk mitigation steps, and then go for a new risk analysis. After the new risk analysis, we can go for a new system design where all these risks are mitigated up to a appropriate or acceptable level, and now the device is ready for development phase. So after that, our business requirement is fixed, our risk analysis is okay, and our hardware, firmware, app design requirement documents are fixed. And at the end, we can develop the hardware, firmware, software, app, cloud design specification documents. This is the document where everything separates out, and we are giving certain design specifications. For an example, if the device is a household device, it needs a 4 kV of ESD protection. If it is a laboratory device, it might need 8 kV of protection. Likewise, you have different design specifications for hardware and firmware and everything. And when we have a hardware design specification document, that's the document we are sending it to hardware engineer for designing the hardware. And firmware specification documents, it's an in detail document that will be given for the firmware engineering team to develop the firmware. Likewise, we will go forward on the development. After we go with the design specifications documents and architecture and everything, then this is a standard development process. Normally in our company, we are going through engineering validation phase. If it passes the certain criteria, we go for design validation, or we might have to do a new iteration of EV. And then even in design validation, we do a few iterations, maybe 1 or 2 iterations, to make sure that we pass all these criteria. Then we can go for factory acceptance testing, and then do the certification and clinical trials with these DV samples, successful DV samples, and then we can go for bulk design and bulk manufacturing. So this is a very standardized process. It's the same process if you are developing automobile electronic device or medical electronic device. The difference is that in every step in medical electronic device development, we make sure that we document each and every step, and we have utmost care about the patient's safety in each of the design steps. So we test and verify each and every step to make sure that the design is within certain failure limits to match the hazard risk analysis we did previously. So all these things take a lot of time, and after everything we do a verification validation phase where we verify that all these business requirement document, design requirement document, architecture, specifications, hazard risk, everything is tested and verified. So when we submit our application to FDA or MDR, they go for the document and see that all these steps are verified and validation the testing document. That's the most critical document for them. So in the whole process, we start from the business requirement, we design our own internal development, we verify business requirement and go for the hazard risk analysis and verify that this is safe for the patient, and then start the development process. After the whole development process is finished and certified, we test and verify that all these parameters are properly met. So this is the process of developing a medical device. It's a bit complex than regular device. That's why it takes 2 to 3 years for the whole design process. So in our next videos, we will go into each section in detail and see how we can execute all these steps. And thank you very much for joining in our video. Please subscribe to our channel so that you can get the notifications whenever the video is out. Thank you very much and have a nice day.